Well, hello everybody. For this, what day is it?
Oh no.
13.
13.
I think so. 13.
It is the 13th. Yeah.
So
yeah.
this is amazing. We're almost at the end of the second week of our 3-week pilgrimage. I don't know about you, Rich. I'm feeling like spiritually really alive and physically really tired. Mentally quite tired.
Yeah. That tracks with me too.
So it's like it's just quite hectic, isn't it, to be on the road like this for 2 weeks. But it's going well, and we're in the borders of Scotland with a castle behind us. This is Needpath Castle. The mighty River Tweed is flowing down there. My grandparents lived in this town, and so all my holidays were playing around here, and I pulled trout out of the River Tweed, and you know, it's amazing to be back. How was your day?
Special. It was really good. So started crossing through the old drove routes.
Yeah.
That was really beautiful. I think there's something about just the terrain that for me just felt very pilgrimy.
Yeah.
It was something about, you have this kind of old ancient path going out, and you see the mountains before you, and you slowly just making your way towards them and through them. That just felt that visual aid, which was really good. And there was something that felt really significant about it being the old drove road, but I can't quite clock what that is. I think you were saying the other day about this whole thing of the longer distance being the 18 inches from your heart to your head. Mm-hmm. I think maybe today's journey is still on its way.
Still percolating.
Yeah, exactly. But it was beautiful.
Yeah. We're thinking today about the second pairing.
Yeah.
Aren't we, of our 6 practices?
Yeah, which is justice and hospitality.
Good
right?
work. So yesterday was the True to Christ is expressed through prayer and creativity. Yeah. And today we move to the second of the 3 promises, which is to be kind to people. Mm-hmm. And we express that through a commitment to justice and mercy together, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's important to marry those two. Yeah. I think we live in a culture that wants justice about everything but shows very little mercy. Yeah. So justice and mercy, and then hospitality. And I think those for me, Rich, those really put meat on the bone of just a nice notion of being vaguely kind to people. Yeah. You know?
I think I at first hearing that be kind to people can feel a little bit like, just be a nice person and generally pleasant, and bite your tongue when you want to say something horrible to someone. But this feels like it impacts it a lot more. So do you want to just go in deep into why justice, mercy, hospitality?
Well, I love that Zinzendorf did talk about kindness rather than love, because I know what you're saying, it can sound a bit weak, but Christians, some of the most hurtful things that have ever been said to me have begun with people saying, I mean this in love. Yeah. And like my heart sinks. I want to run for the hills at that point. Yeah. And sometimes I think, just stop trying to love me and just be kind to me, you know. Yeah. And I know for myself, I mean, even just the way I drive the car at times is unkind. It's like, this is the one I find most challenging. But I think, you know, right at the heart of the gospel, it is this commitment to justice and mercy, first of all. You know, Jesus, when he described his own mission statement, that spirit, Isaiah 61, the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me to bring good news to the poor. And then in today's lecture, we thought about the parable of the sheep and the goats, where Jesus makes both hospitality and the way we treat the poor a very act of, this determines how you relate to me. Yeah. So my life was changed by this. Well, at the age of 17, 18, I gave up my faith, and I really rediscovered my faith through Isaiah chapter 58, that says, your light it was actually just down. Strangely enough, it was just here. It was in People's.
way.
It was at Christmas time, and I had given up on my faith, and I was sorting through some Christmas cards in my grandparents' house, just over there, and there was a Bible verse on the back of one of them that jumped out at me and just knocked the wind out of me, and I knew God had spoken to me. I just knew. The whole world could have said God hadn't, and I'd know that He had. And the verse was that from Isaiah 58: "Your light will shine when you spend yourself on behalf of the poor and satisfy the needs of the oppressed." And so for me, that started me on a whole journey of discovering God's heart for the poor, His bias towards the poor, and the fact that gospel has to be outworked in the ways that we engage with those who are oppressed and speak up for them and give advocacy and build friendships. And so for me, I worked the homeless for a while, then I went and worked with Jackie Pullinger in Hong Kong with heroin addicts, and this has been right at the heart of the faith for me ever since. And so I think when we talk about kindness, it's not just, hospitality, middle class, I do dinner parties. It's, am I allowing people into my life, my schedule, my space, and yes, my home, who are maybe not comfortable, or particularly grateful or polite or middle class. And so that's where there's teeth on this notion of kindness to people, and we see that in the ancient Celts. We see a radical commitment to fighting slavery. Good old Aidan, often, if he was ever given any money, would like to go and he'd just go and buy some slaves, and then once he'd bought them, he'd kind of set them free, and then most of them followed him back to Lindisfarne and joined his community. Understandably, what else would you do? And then were educated and trained, and many of them then became monks and church planters. So this is deep in the history. But you got your guitar out.
Yes,
people
I do.
are much more interested in hearing you sing than me waffle on.
So this is one I wrote last week, and it's called Deep Calls Out to Deep. So it's fitting that it's that place of pilgrimage and quiet space, journeying closer and closer to God, with God. You're not concerned with the outer things, but deep calls out to deep. My mind can cling on to what strength brings, but deep calls out to deep. I climb with you and toward you now, for deep calls out to deep. And I'll find you hidden on holy ground, for deep calls out to deep. And joy will flow like a river down this mountain slope, and at your voice the wasteland becomes Eden. Joy will flow like a river. Oh, the deep calls out to deep. The deep calls out to deep.
Wow. I think that's my favourite yet.
Oh, thanks.
It's
Short
incredible.
and sweet.
This needs to be an album.
I'd like to do it. The ambitious part of me is keen for that.
What would we call it?
I'm just gonna pinch the title from your book.
What the
Oh, wait.
the podcast LP.
Podcast.
Brilliant. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Do your jump thing. You got to get your adrenaline going.
Oh, yeah. Woo! Okay.